What is the exceptionality of dysgraphia? Graph refers to both the act of writing and the actual figures made with a person's hand. This indicates an impairment. Ia refers to having the condition. So dysgraphia can be implied to mean having to do with impaired handwriting. Dysgraphia is also referred to as written expression disorder. The Encyclopedia of Special Education defines the disorder of dysgraphia as difficulty in automatically remembering and mastering the sequence of muscle motor movements needed in writing letters and numbers, unrelated to intelligence, education, or the age of the student. Research has shown that 3 times more male students than female students have below average written communication skills. Nonetheless, the cause of dysgraphia remains unknown. The disorder may be related to heredity or to brain damage. Studies really don't give us the answer. What we do know is that when a student struggles with the mechanics of writing, their learning suffers because they need to focus so hard on the process of writing, they can no longer make sense of new ideas or information. Poor handwriting skills affects not only a student's ability and motivation to write, but it also reduces the ability of a student to learn to read and spell correctly in early elementary grades, where academic achievement results from a collaborative effort among these tasks. Students who have dysgraphia typically have difficulty with visual spatial tasks. They have difficulty processing with their mind what they see with their eyes, or with processing of verbal language, using what they hear to make sense of the world. Dysgraphia often exists in conjunction with other learning disabilities, such as dyslexia, dyscalculia, and developmental coordination disorder. Making observations of specific problems or difficulties a student has with learning processes can be helpful in diagnosing the disorder and ultimately help the student improve their academic success. So what do parents and teachers look for when diagnosing the cause of a student's writing problems? Just because a student has sloppy handwriting or poor spelling does not mean they have dysgraphia. However, it should be alerted to teachers and parents the need to question the possibility of this disorder and to watch for trends in the student's performance that may support the diagnosis. Parents and educators have certain warning signs they can watch for when evaluating students for potential learning disabilities. Students with dysgraphia typically have a combination of multiple symptoms or behaviors. The National Center for Learning Disability conveniently breaks down these warning signs into specific age categories: early writers, young students, teenage through adult writers. Due to the developmental nature of a child's fine motor skills, dysgraphia is usually not able to be diagnosed until a child is close to 7 years old, when a viewer notices evidence of the writing problem impeding the student's learning. Symptoms of dysgraphia for early writers starting approximately in 2nd grade can include gripping a pen or pencil very tightly, often either holding the writing utensil in an awkward body or hand position, or positioning the paper itself in an awkward position. Having difficulty knowing when to use capital or small letters, incorrectly shaping letters and numbers, consistently writing outside the margins or drawing and coloring outside the lines, using inconsistent spacing within writing, having writing showing evidence of excessive erasures, getting tired quickly, and when given a choice, avoiding writing and drawing tasks. For the young student category, symptoms might also include gripping the pen or pencil very tightly, writing which is basically illegible, frequent mixing of cursive and print, mixing of upper and lowercase letters, failing to keep writing on the lines or within margins, talking aloud when writing, focusing so intently on writing that sequencing, organization, or overall comprehension of written work is of poor quality or lost completely, with sometimes words or complete sentences missing, frequent misspelling, choosing non-writing or drawing tasks when given a choice, having difficulty figuring out what exactly to write, and generally writing very slowly. For the teenage student and adults, the symptoms of dysgraphia generally include holding the writing utensil in an awkward hand position, and again many of the other symptoms mentioned for younger ages. Additional symptoms include disorganization of written thought, including difficulty remembering thoughts already written, frequent syntactical or grammatical errors, and significant inferiority of written ideas when compared with knowledge evidenced in speech. If you haven't already done so, let me assist you with deciphering this man's note. Because I'm afflicted with severe dysgraphia, which you may have surmised in no way affects my intellect, I will die, never having been able to write an understandable love letter to my wife. While technology advances such as laptops and iPods have increased the portability of keyboarding devices, writing by hand is many times still the desired or expected means of communication. The man who could not write a love letter to his wife is only one example. Other examples include note-taking and test-taking, mathematical computations, making a list, taking a message from a phone call, filling out applications, writing a check, providing a signature on credit or debit cards, and signing legal documents. Learning to write is important, and every possible effort needs to be made to help students learn this important skill. Besides making observations of a student's behavior or analyzing a student's writing, numerous professional tests can be administered by licensed occupational therapists or school psychologists to aid in analyzing learning problems. This figure is one similar to one that might be used in the Ray-Osterous complex figure test when diagnosing dysgraphia. Studies conducted with this test have concluded that students with dysgraphia may actually have cognitive difficulties that impair visual memory skills over and above visual motor skills. The Berry Botanical Development Test of Visual Motor Integration is designed to identify either students or adults having problems with visual motor integration. Standardized tests include Developmental Test of Visual Motor Integration, Coding Digital Symbol and Symbol Search Subtest of the Wechsler Intelligence Scales, Bender-Gestalt, and Jordan Left-Right Reversal Test. Written language achievement measures include Woodcock-Johnson Achievement Test and Test of Written Language, or TOWL. Once a student has been diagnosed with dysgraphia, teachers need to develop a plan designed to help the student reach their academic potential. Learning to write is important to a student's success in school as well as to adults' ability to function within today's society. Normally, the more a student practices a skill, the more proficient the student becomes at the learning task. Practice makes perfect. However, when difficulties in writing interfere with the process of learning to write, teachers need to carefully assess where the writing breakdown occurs and plan instruction to allow for needed accommodations, modifications, and remediation strategies. Remediation is the first approach used to address the need of a student diagnosed with dysgraphia. Such remediation might include direct handwriting instruction or fine motor skills, instruction to improve muscle coordination needed for writing, spelling instruction, and explicit instruction in the writing process. Beginning writers can also be assessed to make sure that they are using proper writing mechanics, pencil grip, posture, paper position, keeping the paper parallel with the writing arm, like railroad tracks. The student can also be provided with additional instruction for letter formation. Specific handwriting strategies include forming letters consistently when possible with continuous strokes, focusing first on motor patterns before size or legibility, teaching letters in order which accounts for similarity between letters, formation difficulty, and frequency of letter use in words, teaching letters that are reversible, such as P and Q or B and D, separate from each other, using arrow cues to remind students how to form letters, providing verbal cues for letter formation, such as B is the big stick down, circle away from my body, integrating letter sound instruction and handwriting instruction, teaching cursive writing with explicit letter formation and letter connection instruction. Once legibility is obtained when writing from memory, working to improve speed. Distinguishing between different standards of handwriting legibility for different writing purposes. For example, note-taking only has to be neat enough for the student to be able to read it. and providing graph paper and large squares, or turning a student's paper sideways so the student can use the lines to do math calculations in neat columns. Some students become that fatigued by the physical process of writing that they may benefit from the services of an occupational therapist to provide instruction in sensory integration, giving students exercises to use as writing warm-up or breaks. Strategies for working with sequencing problems resulting in spelling difficulties can include using word banks created prior to writing, presenting phonics instruction of letters in an order which allows for gradual introduction of common words, helping older students use dictionaries to check spelling, providing lists of homonyms, and providing explicit spelling instruction. To help students make improvement with written expression, teachers should give instruction on the steps of the writing process: planning, organizing, writing, editing, and revising. Teachers should model the steps, provide the students with opportunities to practice the steps, give the students a bookmark prompting the steps, and then motivate the students by connecting the writing to real-world experiences. Even with additional support, gains in writing performance through remediation might be slow in coming and often can be difficult and require a lot of work on the part of the student. Therefore, teachers and all others associated with the student need to realize the importance of promoting student self-esteem and offering praise for student effort and acknowledging every gain, no matter how small. At times, the severity of a student's dysgraphia requires intervention beyond remediation strategies to assist them with written expression, and it is reasonable for a teacher to employ accommodations, including assistive devices, sometimes along with and at other times in place of continued remediation strategies, depending on the severity. Assistive devices can be as simple as using writing implements, grippers or fat pencils, using writing templates to assist with the placement of writing, or providing a sensory guide using paper with raised lines. When simple alternatives are not enough, the student might be provided with more expensive devices such as audio recorders, note-taking pens, and laptops or other newer technology with word processing, voice recognition, and spell checking software. However, even with the best remediation and accommodation strategies employed, some students still face barriers with learning caused by writing difficulties. In this situation, teachers should carefully make modifications to the students' activities which do not reduce learning by changing volume, complexity, or format. Lowering the volume of the writing work assigned to a student by providing another student as a note-taker, allowing the student to use a scribe, reducing the number of questions students are expected to answer, reducing the complexity by alternating when parts of the writing process are graded, by allowing students to work cooperatively in groups with students assuming different roles, or providing more structure, breaking the task down into smaller steps. Changing the activity from a written format to an oral or visual literacy project. Additionally, teachers can develop questions which focus on students writing on original ideas and responses instead of copying text, making the time spent writing more meaningful. In summary, the dysgraphia disorder typically does not go away without treatment, and students benefit most by teachers developing a professional plan to meet the student's individual needs. Teachers often overlap instructional methods using many strategies that are not age-specific, and it is never too late to begin writing instruction. The answer to what teachers can do to provide students with the best possible learning environment can be found only with assessing each individual student's needs and by continuing to follow research-based best teaching practices, providing teacher-guided explicit instruction in written language.